Good afternoon, everybody. All right, bar folks, we're starting it up. So either keep it to a whisper, because we're about to roll. If you'd like to come join us, please do. Welcome to the Production Summit. Here, we're going to do a live demonstration of lighting with a unusual technique where we have cinematographers discussing our methodology and then implementing it on the set. What we want to give you today is the mentality of how you approach a lighting setup. We have Tom Camarda. He is here with us.
Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Tom comes from high-end union narrative shows. When I am on a Tom set, we got 5 rigging grips, 5 rigging electricians, 6 set grips. We have 3 cameras on every shot, and then it's cinematic narrative. So it's got to be beauty lit, and it's got to be able to be beautiful from multiple A, B, and C camera, right? That's a whole technique for doing lighting. I was fortunate enough to start out on his sets, moving sandbags around and setting flags and then gaffing for him on some of his commercials. I came up through the ranks. And I will tell you, I learned so much from Tom. He was kind enough to let me have 5 minutes when there was a moment and just pick his brain. Like, why'd you put the backlight there? Why is it low? Why is it here, right?
It has to be there. That's always the answer.
It is all because it looks better from B camera. Or the stand is an A camera. So we're also going to show off some of these special lighting techniques. I just shot a project in January called Europa. We were doing the Sony Stage 7. We had the moon of Jupiter, which is a white snowy surface with Jupiter in the background. We had to do a lot of lighting cues for one of the scenes, sort of a lighting change happens. It goes from dark and it explodes into color, and then it fades down into a base lighting with a lot of caustic water reflections in this particular ice cave. So one of the things that we did was Tim Kang here, our maestro who's joining us. Tim Kang is an amazing cinematographer. He's also an amazing researcher. He's the one working on white papers and spending after hours with light meters and friends pushing the scene forward. And several years ago, you would see him on the forums talking about how bad LED lighting looked and why it was so spiky. And much like Gandhi, be the change you see in the world, he's actually the spearhead that's driven that to be a much better quality LED light nowadays. So Tim showed us how to do a video feed from the LED wall and pick a color and send that video to the gaffer and then have the lights just read that video file and automatically bloom up and dial down. I had not one of Tom's crews, but one of my crews, where it's like, well, you've got one good grip and one good gaffer, and we've got some students from USC that are filling in the rest of the G&E. So I didn't have time for DMX, I didn't have a dimmer board operator, and I had to use the technology to carry my lighting for lighting cues all day long. And in the production, they told us, you're not going to have to relight. You're going to have time to relight. We're going to film those 3 things separately. And we got to set, and of course, they had to film it continuously, and I had to have the lighting cues continuously on loop. But Tom, let's turn it over to you. I'd love to hear some of your experience with LED walls and green screens, and we have some slides.
Sure, thank you. Well, my experience mostly with the walls has been kind of traditional, kind of process type of work. Not a lot of volume work. It's mostly process, vehicle type of thing. That's where I get a lot of my LED wall experience from, and using a lot of it's, it just comes as you always have to fight for it, and you bring it in as needed. So we have a couple of couple of frames for you here to run, and I can show you and I can explain a few things for you. But National Treasure, this was a show we did in Louisiana. And this was the first time I really kind of used extensive LED walls, and I was impressed because we made it mobile, right? We put it on steel deck, and we made it so we could wheel this thing around. We had 2 of these, and we could wheel them around the stage, and found that the more we used it, the more we found that we could use this type of tool to bring production value to our show, simply by shooting a plate, running that plate, and that's now we've got a nice moving scene outside of a window. Or we can download some files. There's the plates, drivingplates.com, and these places like that that provide plates for background plates, and we would use that for clouds outside of a window of a plane, that type of thing. And it just really became very versatile for us. So having it mobile was one thing I think I would say that added a lot to our production. So this was National Treasure. This is Disney Plus. A few behind-the-scenes type of shots that you can see how it was utilized. We could move this to either side, any portion of the van. This was kind of like their Scooby-Doo mystery machine type of wagon that we used a lot. We shot in a lot for all the kids. And they spent a lot of time in there, so we knew we were going to be in this van a lot, so this was a good choice to utilize the screens for the van work, for our driving stuff, rather than getting out into the streets of Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So this is kind of what it looked like from the outside. We've got a screen array hanging above, and that's for your reflection element, right? So if you're not familiar, maybe I'm sure a lot of people here are, but if not, that array above of panels creates a reflection, a sky reflection in the windshield. So that adds the believability to the illusion, right? That creates that illusion of moving clouds or buildings and that type of thing. So when your plates are being shot and when you're getting your plates, make sure you have that angle that's shooting straight up, because that'll give you that reflection element that you want to have.
I love the authenticity of the big union set where you've got a luxury of crew and your dolly grip can be day trading on his iPhone.
Oh yeah, see? This is no phones on set. Okay, so here's a little clip that we did. And we can see a little bit of the effect of the screens.
So Tom, was this the one where the second unit director of photography made a mistake in framing that actually worked out for you?
As a matter of fact, yes. So what happened, we sent a second unit out to shoot plates because it was specific to the swamps that we were shooting in. And the DP there, they shot at 48 frames, which was a mistake. So we played back at 48 frames, but shot in 24. And to my eye, that added a kind of a nice quality to the background plate out the window. It kind of smoothed out sometimes that jitteriness that you would get, and really kind of sold the illusion in my eye. Actually, it was sometimes you just stumble upon things and they're like, it's magic. So that was one of those, mark that down, save that for later. 48 frame, playback at 48 frame on the screen, but capture at 24, and it really kind of took the edge off. This is another use we used in a bus, so you can see, again, you've got to have that angle off the back plate and off the corner, right? So, because there's that oblique angle that you want to see. So that's so you have the proper parallax out the window when you're driving.
We can call out the lighting on that too, right? Those look like, are those brick locks from Airy? Those look like, or what are those?
Those are vortex.
The vortexes,
those
cream
are the
source.
Cream source vortex, and those are all on a chase. So they kind of go down the line to create that illusion of movement. The bus was brought onto the stage. That was fun, maneuvering that. But it all fit. You know, it just all kind of, we just made it work.
One of the things you'll notice with Tom's lighting, the joy of a big union set is a large space to light. And there's this thing called the inverse square law, where the closer you are to a light, like this one here, if I'm right up on top of it, you know, a lot of people will, I'll just put a light right here in a small studio and they'll put it right up. It's very, very bright at a foot. It falls off very quickly at 2 feet, you know, and then at 2 to 4 feet, better. And then from here away from the light, now I can move around and it's not overly blooming or getting darker, right? We call that the inverse square law. So with these kind of stages, you not only want to look at what LED wall you have, but how you're doing your lighting. He's lighting a bus, daylight exterior, right? So he's got lights that are, you know, 25, 30 feet away. He's got a lot of them. He's got huge space back over there. He's got bounce cards. He's got large cutters. It's big, soft sources far away, right? And so that's one of the things you see when you're talking with your producers about which LED stage should I rent, right? It looks good, but if you got no room to light and you're trying to do daylight exterior, you're in trouble. Right? Back to you, Tom.
Especially if you're lighting a bus. So there's that. And then what else? What else do we got? We want to get, so it's just a few shots from what it looked like inside the bus. You can kind of see a little bit out the windows there of the illusion of motion. And then, you know, we always add a little extra ballyhoo, which is moving lights, spinning lights, mirrors, that kind of thing to kind of give you that illusion of lights bouncing off of car glass and that kind of thing, and little pings, just to keep it interactive and alive in there.
That's one of the things you get a lot of where people say, oh, you know, you've got the wall, it'll do all the environmental lighting. Not really. Yeah, they're on a bus, the wall's 35 feet away, you're not getting any real light from that. You'll see it over their shoulder, and you can use it to motivate lighting, but then you're going to want to figure out some sort of system that ties into that, right? The LED wall, if you can use it for lighting, oftentimes uses really cheap LED diodes that are very spiky in the reds and various other colors. So you'll get lobster effect, you'll get like splotchy skin tones, right? So you always want to complement the LED lighting with full spectrum lighting, something that has really good color to it, like the old tungsten lights are gorgeous. The Mimic lights by KinoFlow do the LED wall panel. They grab a section of the wall and behave like a wall, but they hit like an old school Kino with proper full colors, and they do the gags as they go, and you program those in like a wall. I've used those before. And then there's Aputure lights now, which are also doing where you can feed them a video signal, and then you change something in the Unreal scene, and the light automatically changes as the Unreal scene changes. And like for me on Europa, that was amazing, because as I had the lighting gag go on in the wall, the lights all the way around the set changed and blossomed and went down.
Yeah, pixel mapping, right? So that's a technology that's kind of changed the game, especially in process work, where you can send the video signal to the lighting unit itself. And that video signal is being projected. So if you've got a background plate of, say, Las Vegas and the Strip, and now that's the background plate. Now that plate is also playing through a lighting unit, such as an Aputure or something else. It could be a ribbon, whatever it is you're gonna, that'll accept that signal. You've got the true picture matching. It's not gonna, it'll lock in perfectly. You know, it's gonna match the image. The lighting effect on their faces will match that background image.
The other way to do it, Dash can tell you, is through CMRX and a dimmer board op, and you can tell us how long that kind of takes to do a gag.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Dash. I work for Aputure. I'm a business development representative and a wireless DMX consultant. The other way to make it work is, you get a lighting console or an iPad, lighting console shoved into an iPad app, and then you get yourself a transmitter like that one that we have over on the stand on the corner, and then you do the fun dance of linking all your lights to make sure they listen to it, and then you set all your DMX addresses, and it's a whole technical thing. But in the end, you get one fewer cable to run to every single light on your set.
It's interesting to watch how you know, really it breaks into several types of sets, right? Like Tom's sets, right? You got a dimmer board op, you've got the right budget, you have, you know, just everything's wireless. You've got a pre-light day, the rigging crew designs it, right? So sometimes it is 2025, isn't it?
You'd be surprised what we have to come up with and
Yeah.
pull off and the amount of time we have to do it, but yes.
It is true. The time you have is so limited. That is the one true thing on narrative. God, you were shooting like so many pages a day.
Yeah, yes, it's usually 8 to 9 pages, and you know, you've got to be pretty dialed in, so you know, you fix it and prep.
Yeah.
Right. That's
one
the adage.
scale, right? And so then sometimes you'll walk into, you know, like a mid-level show, and instead of the dimmer board, you've got just an iPad running Blackout or running, you know, the Sidus Pro app, right? And then you've just got, okay, I can give you this level of gag lighting, but I can't give you like Vegas show crazy cues, right? And then you've got the other ones where it's like, okay, we don't have any connection to anything. It's a grip with the flag, and he pulls the color off when you say pull the color off, you know. And we all filmed in all of them.
usually a combination of all of that.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
It's amazing how 1990s lighting techniques for car
Old
process
and new combined.
comes back.
Yes, even here you'll see. You know, like you can do something. If there's wind and there's trees, you know, there's always a guy with a branch in front of a light. It's the way it is.
The smoker always cuts out, and it's always a PA with a cigarette. All right, shall we show some CSI Vegas?
Well, yeah, so then this is the last thing. It was just another use of the wall. This one's for season 1, and you know, I thought it looked pretty good. It was a good utilization of the wall. It was this 20 by 20 foot wall, maybe 25 foot wall. And you know, it's Vegas out there, so you want that twinkly, sparkly, live. You want that background to feel alive, and this was one of the first scenes of the second episode to kind of like set the scene where we are. And,
What cameras were you using on that shoot?
those are Sony Venice.
I really loved the Venice chip when it came out. It was the first camera to really give the area a run for its money for cinematic quality, I felt.
It's a great camera, large format, beautiful, very like malleable image, you know. So it's just some samples of the LED wall. Yeah.
Go ahead and tell them about your conversation with the producer about like using that wall.
Oh, we'll save that for another
Sure.
day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give a short version of conversations I've had. It's why do we want to do that, right? And a lot of it comes down to you want it for actor performance. Like you get on a set and it's the Vegas Strip and it's a show opener and an intimate moment between these two actors. When we put them on green screens, it's like they need a couple of minutes, and then the director has to go over and remind them, like, and look out over Vegas. I know the green screen's right up against your nose behind camera, but imagine it's the Strip, right? But you put them in there, and you watch that performance, and it's all in their eyes, and you can tell that they believe that they're in Vegas right away.
And the wall is actually doing some of the lighting on their face too, you know. So that's interactive. It's absolutely it makes a difference for the performance.
It comes down to, do I believe it? You know, and it's like, it's better in the room, and you know you can believe it. You know, the things happened with us on Europa. We got the actors in the spacesuits, and they stepped out onto the white snow, and they look at Jupiter setting in the background, and like everybody was like, "Oh my God!" It felt like we were watching Neil Armstrong for the first time, and we were like, "That was amazing!" You know, we told the actors, and they were like, "This is the easiest acting we've ever done because it's all right there, and we're able to give the sense of wonder and you know." Yeah. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and transition into doing a lighting setup. So now we're going to basically give you what it would be like to be standing on one of our sets and how we're going to look at it. Say a producer just surprised us. Hey, somebody's showed up late. We're going to switch to the B set that we haven't looked at yet. We got to go shoot it right now. Okay, Tom and I, let's go look at the new set. So Alex, let's go ahead and bring up our diner set. We'll throw it up on the wall. And then we'll choose a lens. We've got some prop furniture here. We'll move the prop furniture around, and then we'll light it up.
Do we have an actor?
We do. Anastasia, would you join us?
Hello, Anastasia.
Let's have you sit right here for now. We'll start with that, and we might bump you here. And then Alex, whenever you can, we'll bring the diner set up onto the wall. Thanks so much.
And can you also bring up the interface from the laptop as well?
I'm not sure if they can do that or not.
They should be able to put it over the side, yeah.
See if he can. Cool. So, okay, let's, so I have two cameras that I'm working with, right? I have a physical camera over here. Wave your hand, right? He's operating our physical camera, which is filming the actress, and then we're seeing the LED scene, right? And then I have the virtual camera, and let's go ahead and let's widen out on the virtual camera. Let's take a wider look at the room. Great. And then, Tim, you want to talk about what you've brought up and why you've brought it up?
Yeah, so just to tie everything together on this wall over here, just so you know what's going to happen here. The whole point of all this and why we're showing all this is that you've been hearing about AI, you're hearing about virtual production, you've been hearing about theoretical things, right? So you still need some DPs to tell you how to make the theoretical into the real. And how do you capture it? How do you sell it? How do you make it look correct on camera? The way they do that is lighting, and the way you have to tie, you still have to find a way to tie the virtual to the real. So this is a program from a company called Assimilate. You may be familiar with Scratch. They've had a program called Scratch for 20 years. Now it is a media server that converts everything was in Scratch into lighting data. And you can now have it married with any signal that comes in. So right now, as you can see, there's different sorts of media here. And here's a light card. So if I turn this on and off, I have a light card going on and off. And if I go to, let's say, paint, and I choose a paint color. So let's say if I choose, I don't know, I'll choose this kind of burnt orange. Now I can see where my elements are. I can now paint, did not go do burnt orange. Is that going to go burnt orange now? All right, actually, I'll choose this color here. I'll choose a white and make sure that everything kind of goes white, right? Slowly here, somewhere right there. So long story short, you can paint onto your fixtures, and that means that anything could be used as your lighting controlled data, and anything could be used as your light source. It could be a video screen. It could be a well-calibrated video screen that has full spectral pixels on the physical screen, and it could be your lighting fixtures. So the entire point is that you have a whole plethora of tools that are practical and real that have the physics to back up the color data that you're sending. And that color data, the source, is everything we've been talking about all day, today, and tomorrow, right? So now on the top left is the video screen, and you can see that is the whatchamacallit, the jukebox up there. So if I now bring my, let's see, my little 80-watt light right here, I can sample the yellow coming out there. So this light is yellow. You can you pan the light towards the audience just to see that it is yellow, and then when I move it over to the blue, now you can see it's blue, right? And if I go back to yellow, so everything is live, right? And if you temporarily remove the, or turn off, let's say, the jukebox, can you just temporarily wink it out or just turn it off? Is that possible? Now you can see the light is off because it's just reading the values of the jukebox. So now this is the mechanism behind the curtain, so to speak. So this is what's going to be happening now. So all that's going to happen now is Wolfie and Tom get to play, and we will just do whatever they want. Long story short.
It was really hard to do DMX timing with Unreal and getting DMX lighting cues that were happening Unreal to happen to the physical fixtures, right? And a lot of times there would be like way too much of a delay. With this process, we found that it was so useful for doing lighting gags, right? If you're running a car process shoot and you have like only 1 or 2 people, having the plates go from light and then they go into the tunnel in the queue just happens. And now you've got a VAD team that are experts at doing Unreal Engine lighting, right? Like if you look at this scene, we have those 3, 4 overhead soft lights, right? Those are physical little virtual lights in Unreal. Each one of those has a little virtual light associated to it, right? So now being able to do a lighting gag, a faulty blinking electric sign, now I can just drop this, put the dot on the computer, and now all day long, every day on set, my 80C or my new 1000C is catching that cue and doing that environmental cue for you. And it happens automatically. Your gaffer can go off and get some craft service. And now your integrated lighting is now also wall lighting virtually, but now we're reaching virtually. Our VAD team can grab control of lighting unit, stuff that's up in the rig, stuff that's on the floor, right? It's a very huge breakthrough for me. That's something I've struggled with in my LED shoots is the incorporating the gags.
It is still DMX under the hood. So Assimilate is able to take any video plate or video shader, drag your little sample box or your array of sample boxes if you have a pixel mappable light. It will output DMX across the computer network. Right now it's going across a Wi-Fi network from this laptop wirelessly to that transmitter. That transmitter is converting that into CRMX, broadcasting it to the lights that are already paired with it. So under the hood, the lights are still hearing DMX.
We're just lifting it out of a video file, right? And you can even just, like for my lighting gag on Europa, we burned a video file of the gag happening, right? And then we could just hit play on the laptop when the person said action, and then that would just read it off the video file, right? So you don't even have to be live to the wall, right? You can just get a whole video file and do a lighting gag and just time it. You know, you can old school it. You can
I've pulled video files off of YouTube of fireworks to sample lights from for commercials.
And then you just hit play at the same time, right? So you can go old school. It just gives you such a good tool for that. All right, so let's go back to cinematography. Tom, we're walking in. The production designer goes, "Here's our set." Tell me how you think about how to light a set.
Okay, well, let's turn off the overheads. How about that? I don't know what we can and can't do. I'm new here, by the way. So I might break this and get fired, but you let me know.
That's it. After today, you're done. And we're both at the bar.
So, I mean, you know, you've got that overhead. That's a nice fill, right? So the sun's coming in that window, really nice and hard. That would be a nice skip bounce. So maybe why don't we take this source and kind of bring it around towards the window a little more so that we bounce it off the floor.
It's a great idea.
And let's match, go ahead and pixel map that warmth that's coming through, that's hitting the window pane there. The mullion, right? And that's a good warm color sunlight. Instead of that green, that'll be the nice warm sunlight that's coming in back there. Right.
So what the process is he's doing, right, is you start training your eye to think in several patches. The first is, what's the quality of the light? What is the direction of the lights? And what is the ratio of the lights to each other? And then finally, what is the size of the lights? Okay, so let me walk you through that as using it as an axiom for how to approach a lighting, right? He came in, we've got a general ambient light that's very large, it's the whole room, and it's very soft. We then have a sunlight that's kicking in through the window, and it's very, very bright compared to the room, right?
There we go. That's nice, we've got the overlay now.
Look at that, that's great, right off the bat. The right light, the right key light in the right angle already does 60, 70% of your lighting right off the bat, right?
So yeah, so you've got that nice harsh angle, and it's coming in at a steep angle. So it's a little skip bounce, we call that, right, off the floor. Now you could add a little fill from above from the practicals.
Here's a trick. You know John Tanzer? He shoots Sunny in Philadelphia. When I was transferring from being a gaffer to a director of photography, I'm like, how do you light sitcoms? He's like, you put the key lights opposite side of the actor from the camera,
Yes.
and you kick it back this way, and that way you get shadow towards camera, and that's how you're gonna do 90% of your lighting setups. And the first thing Tom did was the light was here, which would blast her face and not be flattering, and he instinctually moved it 5 feet past talent and got us a nice base kickback lighting.
Indirect.
Indirect, right?
Yeah, and then if you wanted to kind of just put a little, that's nice, the hair light from above. There we go.
Flash it on and off real quick.
So that's from our overheads. That's very nice.
One overhead.
Just the one overhead, right?
It's great.
Yeah, and then if we wanted to kind of continue the illusion of hard light coming in the window, it might be nice to grab the little guy there and bring him around to the other side and kind of from the same, sorry. I apologize to the audio.
Hey, Alex, can we pan the world around just a little bit and put the jukebox over her shoulder? Alex, my bad team. Thanks, bruv. Yeah, just a little bit so we feel it just there in the background. If you don't break your LED wall at least 3 times a day when you're shooting it, you are not trying hard enough.
Well, that's a bright jukebox.
Yeah, and then maybe we push maybe we take the virtual camera further away from the jukebox. Make it a little smaller in the background if possible.
Virtually, of course.
Yeah, and it could be over back, just part of it, just poking out behind, over left of camera frame. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and then, yeah, shrink it down and then throw it further away is good.
It's Tyler, right? Tyler? Tyler? Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
So yeah, so I asked Tyler if he could add now a little hard light across the table, across the hands, and just to kind of give the illusion of some hard light coming in, but keep it off her face, right? We like that soft light still
hidden. Hey, Alex, if you want, go ahead and go back to that angle we had. I liked it better. We can maybe just move the jukebox over. Would that be easy? And no is an okay answer.
right. So yeah, you're gonna. Let's get the aim first. Yeah, there we go. Now I would add like a topper to that if we had a flag, or I don't know if we have a flag, but
Yeah.
you could just close the top door on that a little bit and try to get it off her face as much, but and then spot it in.
I love when Dash walks by, like the perspective suddenly like flips.
The gaffer always needs to touch it once.
It's amazing.
That's nice,
I was a
Tyler.
gaffer
Yeah.
for 10 years, and like it was just always hated when a DP touched a light, and then they'd always mess it up, or they'd loosen a knob and drop it. And now I'm on set, and I go over to touch a light, and then it drops down, and I'm like, I'm totally that director of photography now. And then I was like,
So you could,
All right, so with our 3 lights,
you could feel it on the table and on her hand.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
cool. And then Alex, let's go ahead. So now we've got an established kind of jukebox color, and then we could chase the jukebox light a little bit, right? Do we have anything left with a little bit of color that we could maybe at a very low level push a little jukebox light on it and then show a change of that color kind of thing?
Well, we have the 1000C there.
Yeah, bust out the 1000C. This is the new darling of the Aputure lineup. This is what Tim's been working on under friend NDA for 2 years that we'd hear about in the white paper rooms and helping him develop. This is a really excellent full color spectrum light. It hits like an HMI light that you've actually got Roscoe gel on. It doesn't hit like some of these LED lights that just look so spiky. I come from beauty lighting, right? I lit Brooke Shields in the 90s with Aura Soft lights. We used Bargers with bag lights for 10 minutes. And then the Breezy came out, and then we were doing all our beauty lighting with the most beautiful parabolic, most cantankerous light you've ever seen in your life. The first time I used a Breezy, I watched an electrician focus it in, and then it didn't have a safety on its $1,500 bulb. And the DP was like, going a little more. And then I watched a $1,500 globe fall out and shatter into a trillion pieces. And then we were setting the Breezy up, and then a stake would break, and that was an $800 charge. The producers hated them. The DPs loved those lights. And now, I would use the 600X would be really good for skin tones from the Aputure lineup. But the 600C had great color lighting and great for adding in on film sets with LED walls. But I wouldn't necessarily grab it and be like, hey, I'm going to use that as my key light. It still had kind of a narrower LED representation. When I started playing with 1000C, now I'm like, oh God, I could actually use this light as a key light. And it's like, oh, the color is really gorgeous, Other lights that I love that have been a really good beauty light, the Cream Source lineup, the Cream Source SpaceX. It was a particular banging great LED light. Not a lot of people know about that one. You can put an Octabank on it. It plugs into a household outlet. It's narrow. So that's a particularly good beauty quality light. And they're very, very few and far between of the LED lights that I would use for lighting a world famous actor in a beauty fashion, So, but this one's really amazing. And we've got them, feel free to play with them if you want. And and all of us, we'll all tell you the truth about what's great about everything. I'm friends with Aputure. I'm friends with my friends at Arri. I shoot Venice cameras. I shoot Sony cameras. Amongst us here at these kind of events, we're just, we love all of them. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. Somebody asked me the other day, what's your favorite camera? And I said, the right one for the job. And I mean it. Sometimes the Sony Venice is the right call. Sometimes the Arri S35 is absolutely the right call. But you get on a real fast run and gun shoot with the Arri 35, and it's not designed for quick handheld and quick builds for a run and gun dude, right? It's a cinema camera made for an AC to capture incredible images,
My favorite phrase is they're tools, not sports teams.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. Yeah.
I've never met a carpenter that only had one kind of saw.
Yeah,
You got
exactly.
tons of tools for tons of applications.
Wolfie,
Yeah.
can we jump
So,
into
okay,
questions?
let's go ahead and hey, Alex, can you rotate back to where the sun is, and then we'll just wind it up from there. Let's rotate back. Let's see that. Okay, here we go, and let's do final tweaks. Tom, what do you think? Our jukebox light maybe moves back behind, right?
Yeah, let's
move
slide
that back behind. I'll get this other light out of your way.
Can we the image a little bit? There we go. Yeah. That's going to be nice. That feels better.
So
Just a
again,
little closer
quality
to
of
the
light,
window.
angle of light, right? It's quality of light, angle of light, ratio of light, right? We've got hard light coming in, but soft overall feel of the diner, right? So with the hard light, we're getting hard hits on the table edge, which echo the hard hits ratio in
think
the background there.
This is confusing
That is
things
super
too.
hard to point at, right? There. And then we've got the quality of the light feels like what would be in a diner, where it's moody and contrasty with a little hard kicks.
Can you guys hear me? No, you can't. Can I go live? Oh, there. So you guys, also, it could either be the jukebox light or it could also be the blue neon sign. Either way you want to motivate it, it's the same blue. So, yeah.
That's great.
So if I had a second camera,
Yes, let's talk about that.
right? You'd add a second camera that would hold a piece of the jukebox in it, and it might come around a little more and see the jukebox in the background, and then you'd feel that jukebox back there, and then this this pixel mapped. What was the unit back there in the corner?
1000 C.
That would play more prominently in that camera if you had a second camera.
Can I share? When I was on his set, I wrote down a lighting plot because it was stretching my brain. I'd always lit for single camera. And you had done such a great job of making 3 cameras look good. Can I echo back what your notes were for this shot? Can I talk about how you do a lighting setup for a second?
Please.
And then you add to it? So what Tom had was he had a master shot where somebody was here and it was a person comes in and talks to them. And he had a camera here, he had a camera there, and he had a camera here. And we were in an 1800 style house with a beautiful library. Couldn't really do a bunch of screwing into things into the ceiling. And he had 20 minutes to light for 3 cameras. Producers think, oh, we've got 1 camera, let's add 2 more and we'll go quicker. Every time you add a camera, you're cutting off wedges of what the camera sees that you no longer can put lights there, right? And every time you cross a line, Tom was put in a situation where he had a camera here on one side and a camera there. They're pointing at each other. And I watched him in 20 minutes nail a lighting setup, and I went from camera to camera to camera, and my jaw dropped because all of them were pretty. And then I went over to him and I asked him, I was like, hey, I talked to him about this lighting setup. I said, what's your philosophy on this? And he goes, you pick your battles, and you pick the cameras to look the best that are going to be in the edit most. And I said, explain it. He goes, the master. He put a big key light over here, and he put shadow side here. From the master, the person was the least best lit. It was half a face lit and half not, but you saw them full body and their face was that big, and it was still pretty, but it was like the harshest of the 3 looks, right? He goes, it's the master. You're establishing the room. They're walking into it. You're going to see their face the least size and for the least amount of time in the edit. So I sacrificed that for quality on the other 2. And then what he did was he had a big light over here and a softer light there. The big light played the key here on this actor facing this way, and the big light played the back edge on the actor facing that way. And then this camera caught a bright back edge with the soft fill from the fill light here on that actor who looked gorgeous. And then this actor over here had the brighter key light and the softer. So he was maximizing the lights for each actor in a different way. And then normally we would put a stand up here and catch the rim light to get shoulder definition from the back wall. And Tom just put a light on a skid plate and shot it up, and then caught a little of the ceiling, and that bounced down on the shoulders. And I was like, why'd you put the light down there? We're always up above with backlights. And he goes, because you see it in the wide. And I was like, oh, so angles. I'm like, dude, I've never thought of lighting put the light low to get the high, to get the angle. I was like, that was the day you taught me how to light for multicam.
It's like billiards.
It's pool.
Wolfie, we've got
it's cool.
questions.
Yes,
People
let's go to
got
questions.
All right, questions. First question, where are we at? Yes, sir.
All right, who's first?
Oh, hi there. So I'm really curious about in pre-production using previs. You can really, I work a lot with the previs, and we can figure out what the camera is going to see. But in terms of like the tech viz, I'm just wondering if there's like any pipelines you guys have been working on with like the lights where you can kind of see like an overhead view of, once you arrive on set, where are all the lights going to be? And do you guys have anything kind of designed for that for like the software, or any plans for that?
if we're working on Unreal, I'll ask for a floor plan or go walk the LED wall. Like if I'm working in here, I know I can get lights up and above the wall. Some stages, the LED wall goes to the ceiling, and then I'm blocked from being able to hang or get backlights up there. Here, I've got really nice grids. I can add a pipe overhead. So when I come and do the physical walkthrough, I know what my playground is, right? And then I've got a big open space both to the left and both to the right. Some LED walls are just stuck in a corner, and I know that if I try and put a big key light over there, I can't because it's into a wall. So I'll be like, oh, I can only key from this way, right? And then when you start doing your tech viz and start gray boxing, you can start designing your lights like that.
I've heard of Vectorworks is a really useful tool for that kind of thing as well.
Another thing that I've worked on this past couple years is take VFX practice for the past 20 years of capturing an HDRI on set. Now, does anyone know what HDRI is? Okay, good. So now it's gotten so simple that you can get like a Ryko Theta, one of those 360-degree cameras, and they have a plugin to do an HDRI in the camera and stitch it. So what you can also have to answer your tech viz question is you could go on a location, and in this case, I went on a location here. Oh, it's not on screen anywhere. I thought it was going to be one of these screens. Can you throw the interface back up? Because basically what I have here, you could basically, if you were on set, in a real set, you can take an HDRI capture and see where all the lights were. And you can even rebuild as your reference what it was on set. So whether it was a tech viz, whether it could do a theoretical HDRI out, or you could do a real HDRI and have that be your guide on how to recreate your shot or do the shot in advance. Yeah. And this then becomes your lighting map, and you can still light all your fixtures, place all your fixtures in reality to where all the fixtures are. So it's the same sort of idea.
Thank you. We have another question here.
Hi, yes. I'm just curious on how you flag, like removing reflections that aren't needed and not being in the shot, reducing the, because there's issues like if it's a fully lit scene, and then how are you creatively putting in flags? So I'm seeing lights, but I want to see how you approach when you have to reduce light, or maybe because you're dealing with a lot of light because this is a huge light source. So how do you subtract light?
Well, practically, we do it with rags, right? With solids, right? Here, I think you would just eliminate that section of wall that you don't need. And then I've also I've seen where we've actually just brought up a section of wall of a color, just as a light source, you can do that, and you can just use as much or as little of the screen as you want. So there's that. Any guys have anything to add to that?
I would add egg crates are your friends, right? Later on, if you come up and look at these lights, they've got kind of a checker pattern in front of these lights here, and they're called an egg crate. It allows you to have a soft light, and it shoots out between the egg crates, but as you turn sideways, it blocks that light. So it gives you soft lighting, but allows you to control it. And I use egg crates on all the lights that I'm working in LED wall. Also, when you go to design your lighting setup, like on Europa, they were like, we'd like the sun here, and it looked great in Unreal. And I was like, that's not gonna work. And they're like, no, but it looks good. I was like, okay, we'll do it now. And I was like, hey, Steve, hang the key light back there, and then build a fake key light that we're gonna show. And then we showed the key light, and it washed out the wall, and they're like, oh, that's not gonna work. I was like, no, hey, Steve, what about that light? He goes, yeah, we brought it up. I'm like, all right, we'll backlight this, And that's part of the game of production with virtual production, is you want to be there, you want to let people play and give them a chance to try it, and maybe it might work, right? And maybe not, right? One friend of mine in London had an issue where he was a really good VP supervisor and a good DP, but he just ran roughshod over the director. And then, at the end of the day, the director was like, that really sucked for me. And he goes, why? What was it? I got you great shots, and they were beautiful and then beautifully composed. And the director was like, I lost control of the set somewhere around noon, and I didn't get it back until we called wrap. And the guy's like, oh my God, I am so sorry I did that to you, you know? When we're in these deep technological environments, it's easy for us to nerd out and nerd over other people. So let them have their time, let them play, let them make mistakes, have their back for when you know what might fix it, but you know, let people play.
All right, we got time for one more question, and then we're going to do loud movies. Here, sir.
What is the popularity of Assimilate Scratch? Is it growing? I've seen it for a long time, but...
Sorry.
The question is, what is the popularity of Assimilate Scratch and Assimilate Live effects that we have running here?
Yeah, so there are different budget tiers to do this, and I think on the larger scale, like this whole entire scenario is run by Pixera, which is for this. But not everybody has this budget scale, and I would say that they are the populist one out there. And you know, when I first met these folks in person and worked with the software, and the lighting was rudimentary, that was 2023 NAB. That was the prep. A year and a half ago, one booth, it was B&H, photo video. A year later, there were 13 lighting booths that were running this program on their booths. So it kind of just happened overnight. So it's pretty much becoming the de facto standard now, because it's really the only way you can take a motion picture workflow and color manage on a per fixture basis, which is pretty unique at this budget level. This is the lighting side of this, is a $2,000, roughly around $2,000. So this is really meant for lighting teams and lighting unions and people that care about lighting as a separate thing from your VAD team, your brain bar, because brain bar people don't want to be lighting the sets, right? So this helps to segment that out, and it's not impossibly expensive for you to be able to access this and practice it and pick it up and learn it. So, yeah.
All right, that's it. Round of applause for this.
And
All right, everyone, go get a drink. Things are about to get loud. You're going to see some lasers. You're going to see some film. You're going to hear some music.
Yeah.
It's going to be loud. It's going to be fun. You're going to network. I'd love to see some dancing. Who's got the best moves? Production Summit Day 1, everyone. Woo! Grab a drink. Take a photo on the step and repeat.